Hey guys, Board Now back with you. This is going to be my review of Star Trek Discovery Season 3, Episode 13. It is the finale of the season. It is called That Hope Is You Part 2. So we finally get the Part 2 from earlier in the season. I think it was the opening episode, so makes sense, and it's like a bookend type thing where the first episode of the season is called That Hope Is You Part 1 and we end the season with Part 2. So obviously I'd been mostly positive about this season. I think it's been the strongest season of the show so far, and I still think that, but actually this finale was underwhelming for me. It's one of those finales, really. I can't be like too down on it because it is quite well done throughout. You know, the cast are doing a pretty decent job. There's some obviously good effects. There's some exciting action scenes and things like that. And there are well done scenes with the characters and the stories. It's just overall it did feel a bit underwhelming. It felt very cheesy at times, which I don't always mind, but I think they definitely went a bit overboard with the cheese and the sentiment at times in this one. A good example being, well, just some of the stuff with the Discovery crew, but also with Adira and with Who and Paul down on the planet, them being reunited, and having a big hug and what have you, and emotional moment. Definitely hit you over the head a bit too much with the cheese. The other thing is, plot-wise, it doesn't really do anything that exciting or anything out of the ordinary. Obviously, one thing I said, and I know other people have said this, is then it would have been good, maybe the potential of that alliance with the Emerald Chain and the Federation, with obviously Asaya's character. That would have been a really interesting thing for them to have done, and it would have shaken the show up, set up an interesting season 4. And I guess not too surprisingly, they didn't go with that. They just went with the feel-good kind of ending to the season, and like the evil Saya being defeated. Obviously, at the end of last week's episode, she kind of walked away from the talks with the Admiral because she's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to face up to the crimes, admit that I'm guilty and stuff. And she was just still trying to justify her actions, but obviously there was a door left open where they could have come to an agreement and done that, and I think the show might have benefited if they'd done that, but no, it didn't do that. So a lot of this episode is what you might expect, and I think just an example of them just hitting the melodrama a bit too heavy is the way they drain every little ounce of the situation with Book and with Michael, because at one point they're trying to get Book to tell them where the Dilithium is and take them to it, and he's refusing, and they're basically torturing Book, and Michael's right there, and she's getting like obviously emotional, and they're trying to use Michael to try and get, you know, by torturing Book more to try and get Michael to tell them, to persuade Book, I should say, you know, to spill the beans, and just scenes like that. They just a bit repetitive because they've done a lot of those sorts of scenes this season to try and sort of rack up the tension, and it's just a bit overkill, and could have come up with something a little bit creative, bit more creative. I think other examples, down on the planet, we have a bit more this week of that drama, because of course Saru is still with Sakur, and he's still trying to get him over his fear. And it's revealed that in the past, Sakor did in fact cause the burn because of his anxiety and his reaction to obviously this creature which has appeared from his the book his mother read to him. But obviously now they're in a different time frame, and it's almost like a refresh. So they can almost stop him from causing the burn again and saving everything. Because if it happens again, that could wipe everyone out, or certainly a lot of people. And Saru, to try and get him on board, to try and convince him that he's on his side and stuff, he actually, out of desperation almost, but I think when obviously things start changing, he reveals that he is a Kelpian as well, and that does, kind of get Sakor on his side more and thinking more positively, thinking that there are actually people on his side and people who understand his plight. But I think some of this stuff, although it is well done as well, I thought it was a bit too heavy with the messaging and a bit too over the top with some of the sentiment and stuff. And you have to remember, this is all in the same episode. It would be one thing if it was like one plot, but because it's all in the same episode, it's sort of kind of coming at you a bit too thick and fast. And I think one of the things, just talking about the status quo and everything being sort of retained, is that by the end of the episode, Saru decides to stay down on the planet, at least for the foreseeable future. He stays there to try and help Sakor kind of get on his feet and kind of rebuild his life, and I guess become independent after, sort of coming to terms with his mother dying, because he sees like the video or the projection or whatever you want to say of his mother actually being ill and dying in this, and there's message in there about a son, having to come to terms with losing his parent. And obviously in this case he had no idea what had happened to her, because he'd been in this almost like fantasy type world where he had no idea what had happened to his mother. He was living in this other kind of reality. So that Saru's basically down on the planet and agrees to stay there to support him in getting on his feet and stuff. And although I think that makes sense plot-wise for Saru to do that, he obviously has this personal connection. I think my problem with it is that it now, as we see by the end of the episode, it now removes Saru from being the captain, and wouldn't you know it, Michael is the captain again. And I will say I enjoyed the very end of the episode. I did. It's hard not to get swept up in just the moment where she is, because she's talking to the Admiral about it, and it's actually his suggestion. So there's some like mini arc Michael's gone over the course of the season. I think you can argue that feels a bit forced, a bit not convincing, considering she has been a very murky character, not just this season but the other seasons. And how many chances does she need? I mean, maybe she's just not captain material, but hey, she's been on a journey this season, and certainly in the last few episodes she has kind of shown a more selfless side, I guess. Arguably, like the decision, not to, I think, to put the overall mission over the fate of Saru and Adira down on the planet. It is obviously that's a sign of her doing the right thing and being a leader, obviously against Stannis, what he wanted. But in any case, I guess you can say maybe at least it's a statement. It's an arc she's gone over this for the season. But my problem with it is just then it goes back to the status quo. It's we had Michael as captain not too long ago, and we're sort of, I think, because she's the main character of the show. I mean, I would be up for them just leaving Tilly as captain for a while, see what happens with that. Now, I did wonder if something might happen with Saru. I thought maybe they might kill him off or something might happen with that. I thought maybe with all this stuff going on with the other Kelpian and some of the stuff we've seen with him this season, some stuff with Tilly, for example, I thought maybe they were building to a big send-off for him. And I don't know, I mean, maybe this is the last time we'll see him, because obviously they're saying he'll be down on the planet for the foreseeable future. Then again, I could see a storyline next season, like an episode where they come back to him, where there's a storyline on that planet or something. But yeah, I don't know. I guess it's possible we might be seeing the last of Saru, or at least that he'll only be a guest star once or twice, like in the future. I don't know. We'll have to see it. It doesn't feel to me like a definite end for him, but my problem is with him being removed, they have gone back to the predictable option of Michael, and the ending definitely lands. Her walking up to the bridge, and they've got these new uniforms now, and the moment definitely lands. She has a nice sort of signature sort of mission line, which actually I've forgotten now, but it is a good line, and it lands. It's just, again, maybe they could have done something a bit bolder, maybe kept Tilly as a captain or something like that. I just think going back to Michael, because she's the lead character, is a little bit weak. And overall, that's my disappointment, I think, is just the fact that they could have done bolder things moving forward. They could have not have maybe followed the predictable route and shaken things up a bit more. Because actually, throughout the season, I think they have done some exciting things, and they've opened this universe up, and they have experimented at certain times. I mean, the Giorgio episode, the two-part, definitely being a good example of that. I think those two episodes are some of the best stuff of the Discovery show, and maybe the best stuff. And I think that's why I'm positive on this season. My overall feeling is being positive, and overall I do like it. I've liked it a lot. I've liked the majority of it, with obviously some down points. I think the middle was definitely the weakest. And then I think there's definitely been a couple of iffy episodes towards the end, although definitely the Giorgio two-parter, and then there was one after that I really liked. And there's certainly good stuff in the finale. I'm not going to say it's like a rubbish episode. I guess for what it's doing, it kind of delivers, and obviously that will satisfy some people. It was just a little underwhelming for me, the actual finale, but overall, good season. I mean, this show, for the 3 seasons, really, it has been up and down, and I think this is kind of quite comfortably probably the best season so far. So that's my thoughts on Star Trek Discovery, the finale of season 3. It, of course, will be back for season 4 at some point, and I will be covering it again on this channel. But let me know your thoughts on this finale, and let me know your thoughts on the season. Like and subscribe. Also share this video to get it out to more people. That would be good. You can also get me up on Twitter, which I'll put the link in the description. But I'll see you guys again soon. Goodbye.